Protista, an in-between species. They live suspended in the sea, carried by the current. They can travel short distances, either by pulsing their bodies or whipping themselves along with flagella. But their most regular journeys are simply up and down. At sunset, they rise towards the surface, and at sunrise, they sink to the depths. Some nutritional experts believe that in time, when we have learned how to exploit plankton as a human resource, it may become the chief food resource of the world. For the present, though, it's the food for fish, the starting point of this pattern of life. These are carangids, with heads as shiny as hubcaps and gaping mouths into which torrents of plankton pour as they surge through the water. Carangids are filter feeders. Their food is strained through a mesh at the back of their throats. The shoal is perfectly synchronized. Their mouths open and close in unison, but the action is in response, not to the command of a leader, but to pressure on the lateral nerves on the outside of their bodies, which tells them when to turn and where the plankton is at its thickest. Even jellyfish have a sense of direction. It's called phototaxis, and it's what steers them towards light or food. This shoal is known as a bloom of jellyfish. It covers 10 miles of ocean and is 30 feet deep. Among so many millions, casualties hardly matter. This one has lost its way and bumps blindly along the coral while the rest of the shoal pulses ahead. Other strays are already exhausted. An emperor angelfish has found its next meal. Underwater currents drive the jellyfish into gullies on the seabed, and soon they become graveyards where butterfly fish flutter and feed. But here's one that got away. The light draws it on to follow the shoal. A collection of cowrie shells once represented money and wealth. They were used as currency in Africa and the Pacific. But this species, known locally as four eyes because of the markings back and front, is too small to count as anything but small change. Its high polish is maintained by a fleshy mantle which can completely cover it like a dust sheet. At the same time, it excretes an acid which repels most predators. The conch, or spider shell, has no such defense. But being capsized is only a temporary upset. A quick look round with those periscopic eyes, and then, if the coast is clear, its long and flexible foot reaches out beneath the shell and with one heave, flips it the right way up. A conch will travel considerable distances, hopping over the seabed on its single foot. Its eyes are on fleshy stalks, and its mouth parts extend like a cow's tongue, groping for suitable pasture and lassoing it before tugging it from the seabed. The conch harms no one. But the textile cone shell, so called because it's patterned like a piece of cloth, is best avoided. The narrow end of its shell hides a drill containing a deadly toxin, and the venom is deadly to man. The paper nautilus has no weaponry. It's a kind of octopus, and this is possibly the first time it's been filmed. This is a female, and her shell is formed by two large flaps or membranes on the dorsal arms, in which her eggs are laid and the young hatch. The male has no shell, and he is much smaller than his mate. In fact, he is about half as big as a matchbox. The shell is very fragile. But the Nautilus is jet-propelled, and if need be, it can make an instant getaway. The hawksbill turtle makes more leisurely progress, but it has great stamina, and it can swim hundreds of sea miles before tiring. It's armored by a thick and beautifully patterned shell. Ironically, it's the shell which has commercial value and which puts the turtle at risk from man. But survival doesn't depend on armor. The pattern of life in the waters of the Arabian Gulf is so diverse that many species can share the same territory without one threatening the other. Biologically speaking, the starfish isn't a fish at all. Its true name is the sea star, and it belongs to a large family with around 1,800 living species. It travels on tube feet, hundreds of them on each arm. The feet are hydraulic and have suction pads. Each one is hollow and filled with fluid, which expands and contracts with each step. The feet are also used to prise open the shells of oysters and clams on which the starfish feeds. The feather star lives on what it can filter from the sea. The plumes on its arms trap plankton and larger organisms as they swim by. But it's not entirely dependent on what the current brings. The feather star is not a plant, it's an animal. And these are its feet. During the day it will hide, but at night it moves around, locating the best food supply and pours